Okay, so let's start by opening up your Google Drive. So I'm in Chrome and I opened a tab. In Chrome I can tell that I'm logged in with my NWU account, so it's nice to see the color purple with the J, so it lets me know what account I'm in. So from here I'll go to the app launcher, I'll launch my drive, and then I also want you to launch your website and then my website. Okay, and I'm able to do that just from the Sites button from the app launcher, but you won't be able to. So my website, I'd recommend bookmarking it or just typing it in, I guess. And then I'm going to use the NW2. That's kind of like my dummy site where I practice or I show you things. So your tab should look like this, right? You have a drive, you have my site open, and then your site. So obviously your site name would be a little different. Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about kind of good websites and bad websites, and then we're going to lead this into you're going to create your teacher website or a mock teacher website. All right, so let's start with, we'll go to my site. I want to class materials. Since this is the summer session, we're still in week 1. Okay, now we're going to talk about constructing a quality website. So the first thing I want to talk about are visiting websites. So let's go to the visiting websites link. And here's what I want you to do. I have 3 websites here. So the first one, headhunterhairstyling.com. Then I have the magic of baltimore.blogspot.com. And then actually Wesleyan, so nebraskawesleyan.edu. Okay, so we're going to look through, and I'll pull these up so we can see. So in this video, I'm not going to go through all these questions, but you should spend time answering these questions. So let's look at what we're going to investigate. So when I pull up this website, I want to know what information is on the site. I want to know how the navigation bar is organized. So how do I get around in the site? I want to know how the information is organized. Right? And then is the site easy to navigate and get information from? Right? So when I say that, I mean, is it user-friendly? And then there's our contact information. If so, where is it? And then one thing you like about the site and one thing you don't like about the site. Okay, so let's start. Let's go to headhunterstyling.com. I'll just highlight it and hit Command-C. Open up a new tab. Paste it. Okay, so the first thing, right, what kind of information is on the site? So obviously this is a beauty salon of some sort. And it's interesting, they've actually changed this site. So they never used to have these rolling pictures. So this site's actually gotten better. So this was an example of a very poor site. So what kind of information? I have the home. Let's look at their services. Right, so you'll see at services I have some nice images. I have a very nice kind of menu of styles or services I can have with the cost, which is not too bad. Okay, stylists, you can actually get to know your stylist. All right, you get a little bit about the company. Okay, there is contact information. All right, so you can email them, you can phone, you can actually go if you were going to go visit them. All right, you can do that all through their website. So you can see we can actually email them through their website, which is nice. And then they have a blog. All right, and there's their blog, their posts. So not too bad, right? So the Headhunter, obviously this is a hairstyling site. I have some nice navigation bars at the top, and it's pretty easy to navigate through. And then we click for each individual page here. It's actually nice, concise information. So not bad. They have done a very nice job. All right, let's look at our second site. Magicians of Baltimore. Let's copy, and let's open up a new tab, paste. All right, so here you can see we have a nice little wall of pictures. We have the Magicians of Baltimore. It looks like we have a lot of little navigation pages here. So I don't know how well organized this is. They're just kind of thrown together. They're not even alphabetical, which is interesting. And then you'll see as we scroll through, we have a lot of information. And it looks like some stuff I can hover on and get that are linked so I can click. Some stuff I cannot. And then you'll see if you just keep scrolling down, there are, looks like miles of pictures and information. I am not entirely sure how you're supposed to find anything. All right, so a little different here. One home page with all the information that there is, just vertical. And let's see if I click on some of this. Let's do Mark Walker. And then I get the same thing. So our pages all look the same, and it's just a vertical mishmash of information. Maybe you can comment. This is interesting. Apparently you can reply to things, so we have embedded stuff. We have this nice little Google +1 just in the middle of nowhere. All right, so that's a nice example of not a horrible website, but poorly laid out. This is hard to navigate, hard to find information. Now let's try our third one here. So let's go to Nebraska Wesleyan. So let's copy, let's paste, enter. Then you can see, nicely laid out, I have some navigation bars at the top. Right, so I have scholarships about NWU, give to NWU, a quick link. So in here I have a drop-down menu for lots of different options. So I have another menu bar, right, navigational bar here, which has, for graduate students, undergrad, academics, athletics, all that good stuff. So you can see I have scrolling pictures as well. I have inside here where I can apply. Here are our news events. So this is when we created our Google site. So this is where we'd insert our recent post gadget. Right, and this will link to our announcements, and they have two sets, right? Events, here's news. Here I can donate, I can see plays. You can see I'm down at the bottom here, so not a bad site, right? So pretty concise. I get a lot of information. It's very clear where I should click. I have a nice little search tool here, and at the bottom, which is pretty standard, I have some of that information again, but then I also have ways to contact people. I could do a site map, right? Faculty and staff. So at the bottom I have a lot of those links, but now they're just listed out, right? So it's not just one option. I have a couple of ways I can get different places. Here I have an address, I have a phone number, and here I can contact people, all right? So not too bad. All right, so that's just kind of a quick overview on how sites can be good and how sites can be bad. Well, let's go back to my website. So let's look at part 2. Let's look at creating a website. So things you need to consider when you create your website. Okay, so the first thing you need to consider is the audience. So who is this website for? Right? And is the style appropriate? So if I'm going to make a professional website, I might not want, a theme of balloons and carnival rides. That might not be the way to go. Right? If I'm going to make a teacher website, I don't want crazy pictures on it or weird things that may be inappropriate. So always consider your audience first. Okay? The second thing is, what is the information that you want people to get? All right, so what kinds of information are you going to put on your homepage? So that's the first thing, right? When people come up to your page, they're going to see your homepage first. Is it going to be an inviting homepage? Is it going to tell a lot about you? What's going to happen, right? You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have directions on how you actually navigate the page. Are you going to have a description of the page, right? Just make a kind of a note here that your homepage is the first experience people are going to have with your website. So put some thought into how you're going to develop your homepage. Now keep in mind, it's not just a home page. We have other pages, right? So now what are you going to put on those pages? So again, what kind of information do you want, right? Are they going to be documents? Are they going to be videos? Are they going to be pictures? Links to other websites? And always, always ask yourself, is this information appropriate? And is it necessary, right? Just because you can put lots of links and lots of information doesn't mean that you have to. All right, the second thing you need to worry about is once you figure out what you want on your website, where are you going to house the actual documents? All right, so now I would recommend Google Drive, of course, because that's been my push this whole time. Put it in one location and link everything from that. So if it's not Google Drive, then set up something that's similar to that, where it's one place you house everything and you link all of your web page material to that one place. All right, so I'd get away from actually putting files on the web page itself. I would do embedded links because you change one file, it will change all the links. Where if you put everything as a separate file, you have to change all those. Okay, so now we know where we're going to store stuff. Now, how are we going to organize the pages? So when I say that, what's the hierarchy of the pages, right? How will the pages flow through one another? Right? So how are you going to order them in your website? My advice is to create a flowchart, right? And I'm going to show you an example, right? So get an idea before you start putting things together, right? Before you just go out and start creating web pages, right, for your website, get a nice little flowchart. Also, figure out what your navigation menu is going to be, right? So on your navigation bar, what's going to happen? Right? So get all this in your mind before you start designing your website. And then second to last here, who do you want to have access to your site? Right? So remember, you don't have to allow everyone to have access to your site. Who's your audience and who should engage in your site? And what type of access should they have? Should they just be able to view things? Should they be able to download things? Should they be able to edit things? So keep all that in mind. And then lastly, should you include contact information? So I want to point out when you do your teacher website, and I'll make a note of this repeatedly, do not put any personal information on your website for this class. So when you create things in this class, do not put any personal information. No email addresses, no phone numbers. But in your teacher website, you're going to want that. You're going to want ways where students and parents can contact you. All right, so now let's look at organizational flow. So let's do the flow chart. So let me show you an example of a flow chart. So let's go to my website. Let's go to handouts. And here's the website graphic organizer. This would be a flow chart for my teacher website. Okay, so the first thing I have is a home page. And then off that home page, I'm going to branch out and make other pages. So from that home page, I want an announcements page. Then I want a chapter 1 page. Then I want a chapter 2 page. Then I want a resource page. Okay, and when I say that, I hadn't actually figured out I wanted these to be pages yet. I just figured out what the information is I want. So I want a home page, I want some type of announcements, and I want 2 chapters and then resources. Now under my announcements, I want posts. I'm going to, post announcements. That's why I have an announcement page. In my chapters, I'm going to have notes. I'm going to make those PDF files. I'm going to have videos. I'm going to make those MOV files. Same thing for chapter 2. Then my resources, I'm going to have help resources. I'm going to have a calendar. And my help sources are going to be PDF files. So now I have an idea of what my information is. So once I figure that out, then what I'm going to do is create my pages. So I want this to actually be a web page, not a link, just a page. I want this to be a page, that to be a page, and this to be a page, right? So I want chapter 1, chapter 2, and resources all be pages. So I figured that out. You'll notice I made a comment here to myself. I want announcements, chapter 1, chapter 2, and resources to all be under the menu bar. So I want that to be in my navigation bar. I made a note to myself that anything under chapter 1, I don't need a new web page. I'm just going to separate them with tables. Right? So I'm going to list my information and I'm going to separate them with tables. I'm going to organize them into tables. You'll notice in chapter 2 though, maybe I do want web pages. So for some reason chapter 2 is a little bit more complicated. So I'm actually going to make notes a web page under chapter 2. And I'm going to make posts a web page under chapter 2. All right? So here I've decided that it's not enough to just have one web page under chapter 2. I need a couple, right? For me, for organizational purposes. All right? And then my resources, I don't need a new page. I'm just going to separate with formatting. So I'm just going to, do a table maybe, or I'll do spaces, or maybe I'll do headers. Maybe I'll change the columns in my web page, but I don't need a new page. All right? So this is the overview, kind of the organizational chart. And I figure out all this before I get started. All right? So now having said that, so now let's look at this, my high school website. So here's a website I developed when I was teaching high school. Okay, you can see here's my home page. So I have a nice name, so it's Teakin's Math page. Right? It was Pinnacle High School, so Pinnacle Math. I put the location in my room. I have a nice cartoon. I do want to make a note. You can't just cut and paste cartoons into your websites. It's illegal actually, because you haven't paid for the rights to put that cartoon on your site. If you want, you can actually go and buy cartoons, relatively inexpensively, and then it'll be legal. But I just want to make that note. You can't just post whatever you feel like, because there are copyright issues, right? Hence the copyright 1996. All right, that's just my little plug. All right, I had actually a little spot for extra help. So if you need extra help, this is how you get it. Again, a nice little cartoon, and I had tutoring. So this is my home page. Lets people know where I am, how to get help, and how to get tutoring. Okay, on the side now, here's my navigation. I have a home page. I have calendars, so I put calendars up for algebra, pre-calculus, and calculus. So if any one of the classes click this, then I had a calendar. Right? And I obviously had filled these out, at the time of the classes. And then I decided to separate my navigation bar into classes. So Algebra 3-4 had its own navigation bar. Right? And in this, I had a syllabus. You click this, you get the syllabus. Right? And then I had chapters, so chapter 1. You can see this is how I organized it. So I had notes. These are all the notes for all the sections. Here are all the videos. I don't have videos for these, but I'll show you I did in other classes. And here are the homework solutions. And I color-coded the tables to make it user-friendly. Then I had all the assignments I would hand out. And then I have scanned homework problems. All right, so this is my organization. So you see I have calculus. I have all that stuff as well. I have finals. I have practice AIMS exams. I have calculus review. I have AP calculus Saturday reviews. We did things on Saturday. And then in my pre-calc class, you'll see if I click this, it all looks the same. Even the calculus looked the same. I should do chapter 2. You'll see I have the same format. Right? So I kept it very consistent. And then in pre-calc, you can see here's where I put the videos. Right? So pre-calc had videos, but that's the idea. So I organized it and I was consistent. And I figured all this out ahead of time. And then one more navigation bar. I have resources. So here I have a reference sheet. You can see these aren't web pages. These are just links. So I decided that ahead of time. How to do homework, right? Not a web page. This is just a link. Okay, so let's go back to my website. And you can see I have resources. Here I have Contact Me. I have actually the district website. And then Contact Me. Immediately when they click on this, and you'll see it's doing this on my computer, it'll pull up their email program. So that's a nice way too, and that's a great little easy link for Google Sites. Right? You can actually put in an email or a Contact Me that opens up their email and put your information in it. Okay, and then you can see this was my email address at the time, and it pulled it up in my computer's email service. Later on, I developed an engineering club, so I put another tab, and I put projects. So that's an example of my website, right? So my school website. Okay, so always remember, what kind of information do you want to put on your website? How are you going to organize your website? How are people going to navigate through your website? Those are the top three, right? You know, along with make it appropriate, make it audience specific, all that good stuff. Okay, so now here's your assignment. I want you to construct your teacher website. Okay, so act as though you are a teacher in, Lincoln Public School System, and then for this project, choose grade level content. All right, so you need to pick an area. Whatever your area is, that'll be your area. Okay, I want you to store all your documents in your NWU Google Drive. So now we'll talk about the guidelines for your website. Okay, first thing, again, the big note, do not include any personal information. Okay, nothing, no pictures, no names, no phone numbers. If you're going to include phone numbers, email addresses, make them all up. Okay, the first thing is I want a map. I want you to draw an outline map of your website. So just like my website graphic organizer. I want this. I want to know what your website's going to look like. So before you start your website, I want it to be on paper. Okay, if you draw it by hand, that's fine, but I need a link to it on your website. So if you want to do it through Word or anything, and that's where I developed this, I just did the charts and stuff in Word. But if you're going to do it by hand, then you can just take a picture of it, right, or scan it somehow and upload it to your drive and then link it to your website. All right, so I want that map. So this is what I want on your navigation bar. Okay, so the underlined items are the headings on the bar, right, and the bullets are the links. So I want a separate navigation bar that's called Homepage, and under it I want a link to Homepage. Then I want a calendar navigation bar, and I want a link to the class name. All right, so just like, let's pull up mine again, just like this. I want homepage, calendar, calendars. All right, so that's what I mean when I say underline are actually the navigation bar headings, and then the bullets are the links. So you can see homepage, and then I have a homepage. So homepage is the navigation bar, homepage is the link. All right, and then I have calendars as a navigation bar, and a class calendar is the link. All right, so that's what I mean by that. Okay, then I also want classes. So make up a class. Whatever your content area is, put a class. Then I want a link to a syllabus. I want a link to Chapter 1. I want a link to Chapter 2, and a link to announcements. Then I want a parents navigation bar. I want a link to expectations, and I want a link to how parents can help. All right? And then I want a contact navigation bar. I want the school website. So this one you actually can just go to any LPS school, right? Get their website address. I want the district site. They will also have a website. I want some kind of a resource website, so go find one somewhere. And then I want to contact me with email. Okay, and again, make up your email. Okay, so that's what your navigation bar should look like. So when I look at your web page, your teacher web page, there should be 5 navigation headers and all of these links underneath that stuff. So the next part is the content of all these links. Okay, so this is the navigation bar. This next page describes what you should put as the content. Okay, so the first thing, your home page. On your home page, I want biographical information. Okay, so tell me something about you as a teacher. Again, make it all up. Right? Don't put your real name or any of that stuff. Right? So where you're from, maybe education, classes you have taught, if you coach or anything. Okay, then I also want to know your classes. So on the home page, somehow organize the classes that you teach. So I have a nice little kind of calendar schedule. Okay, and then I want to know how students get extra help. All right, so you need 3 topics on your home page. All right, the calendar page, I want a class calendar. And I want this to be a Google calendar. Okay, so then this Google calendar will be linked to your NWU account. All right, and then Chapter 1. All right, so your Chapter 1 page, I want notes. I want 3 sets of notes. I want 3 video links, and I want 3 handouts. All right, and I'll discuss what those should be, but that's what I want for Chapter 1. In Chapter 2, I want 2 podcast links, and I want 2 website links. So now I just want, on your announcement page, I want you to post 3 things. Okay, so do 3 posts. So your notes, your videos, your handouts, and your podcast, I don't actually want you to create notes, videos, handouts, and podcasts. I just want you to create documents or links to those kind of things. So this first one, I'll create a Word doc that says, notes 1, and then notes 2, notes 3. You don't actually have to have anything in them. All right, so these links, I want you to create the documents themselves, but I don't want you to put any content in them. The website, though, you should be able to go find some websites. So make your website links real. All right, but past that, you're going to just do 3 blank documents and label them Notes 1, Notes 2, Notes 3. And then you'll do 3 blank documents that are Video 1, Video 2, Video 3. Your posts, I would like 3 posts, so make up whatever you want, but put them as posts. Okay, so the last thing, I want all links to be embedded. And that's it. So I want a teacher website. So you're going to develop your teacher website. Obviously, you're going to use your NWU Google site. I don't know if I was clear about that, but that's what we're doing. Okay, so your first assignment is to turn your NWU Google site into your mock teacher site. And that's it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you just contact me. So through email is just fine, and I'll answer any questions you have.